Today we're going to talk about learning by failing. So this is what we learned.
I have an old $500 scrap machine, and there's a good bit of advice that says stay in your lane, meaning do what you are comfortable doing. But because I really wanted this particular car, I found this image on DeviantArt that someone had done up, and it just a car I used to own. It's a great mid-size Ford, so it needed to be done. And I was told that it's never going to be made. I thought I'd have a go at it. So this is the basic cyclone mold, and let me show you the pieces that go to it. Because you want to have a one-piece mold, you need to have something that moves in and out. So this is a spring off a drum brake on a Pontiac. I had some of these laying in the shop. I put some bushings in here to reinforce it a little bit, but I put the spring in here. It's a piece of 1/2-inch drill rod, and I drilled some holes in the end of it for cotter pins. And it goes through here like this, comes out the other side, put another spring, put that in there, do the same thing in the front. What will happen is when it goes in, the steel wedge will compress this, you push the plastic in, and then the spring pops it back open just enough so that the part can pop out, and you wind up having something like this. It's not a real refined process. This one right here didn't fill up the whole way. It took me a little while to get this figured out. The first couple batches were terrible, but I managed to set this up and run several hundred of these, and the results are pretty decent once you're done cleaning the flash off and everything. It's something like this when you get done. This is one of the ones that I painted up. I sold a couple of these on eBay, but made a couple for me and my family and stuff like that. So it's about the best I can do with the equipment that I have, but I did learn a lot. One of the things that I did is I put like these little places here for you to locate the windshield, and then back here is where you can locate the interior. And then that wasn't a good idea, because what happened was the plastic was thicker in there, and it created a little bit of a sinkhole in some of these. So then I had to put nitrogen in the plastic to get rid of the sinkhole. The nitrogen doesn't affect the finish at all, but it gives it a kind of a, it looks funny, but it's still smooth, so when you paint it you don't notice it. So I learned a bit from that. But here is what you have to make. You got to make a side for each side. Then you make a core. Then you have a top piece. Let me show you the top piece here. And don't just ignore that. It was too long. I had to cut it off with a bandsaw. So this piece comes in here and sets in here like this. Let me tilt that so you can see it. And it's a real tight fit. And then likewise the other side is here. And of course this will be in the inside of the whole thing. And then I put some ejector pins in here. The alignment pins are getting ate up. This mold's about shot. One of the things it's you know, it was a learning experience. I had just kind of guessed how to do this, and this is how it works. One of the things I like to do while I'm milling something is to take a piece of clay and just kind of press it in here like this, and it comes out. And if I can see reflectors and wheel trims, I know the plastic's going to pick it out. So this is the Cyclone. And this led me to want to make the rival car for that one, which would have been the Petty Plymouth. And here's the render I found online, and it's a really menacing looking car. I always loved the front bumper on those things, the way it kind of dipped down around the headlights. So this is something that needed to be done, so put it in my little slot car collection. I thought I'd have a go at it after the Cyclone kind of turned out. And I tackled this immediately after the Cyclone was finished. And then I got derailed due to some family issues, and then I got back to it. And I've set this thing up about 4 or 5 times. So here's a core to the Plymouth. Very similar. And then we have the sides. Here we go. Let's take the spring out. Let's take the pin out. You can see the bushings are still in this one. I use the same bushings. I just take them out and put them in there. But these are hardened steel bushings to make sure that doesn't wear. So we have the sides, and this kind of coloration or roughness here and here, that's because that part was burned on the EDM when the pieces are mated together. So let's imagine that that goes in there and closes up like that. Then we have another piece that closes up like this. Here's the top to the Plymouth. I changed up the way I did that a little bit to save on some cutting. So this comes in here like this, and this is part of the problem, is the parting line. So that comes together pretty nicely.
Let's look at the Montego body. You can see that the fenders have a sharp edge to them right along there, which makes a nice spot to put the parting line between the top and the side. Likewise, the 72 Torino, it's not quite as pronounced, but there is definitely an edge, a nice angle that you can put a parting line right down there on the fender. And I'm going to go through a couple more here that I have bodies that are designed in CAD. Here's the 70 Torino, the formal roof, and I 3D printed some of these and played around with them a little bit. Nice sharp edge right there to do a parting line. And even on the Dodge version, this is I think a 71 Charger that I designed the body for, and there is, not as sharp an edge, but you can still definitely see a defined corner in order to run the parting line. Here's the problem with the Plymouth. There's nothing. It just rolls right on around. It just rolls the whole way over. And I think that's one of the problems, is that I just tried to run a part down through there, but it wasn't a real defined spot.
But because the front fender doesn't really have that seam that I pointed out, it's really tough to get this to close up. But I got it really close. I mean, it closes up really good. And I've set this thing up about 3 or 4 times to run it. And I was never able to get more than half a Plymouth out of it. And one of the things that's annoying to me is that this Plymouth is really nice. I mean, the fender trim around the wheel wells is great. That multi-piece reflector in there, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's really, the mold is really nice. The top is good. The windshield and everything like that looks really good. So it's taken me a while, but as best as I can guess, here's the problem that I ran into when this all goes together. I can get plastic. The plastic comes in here at the engine compartment, and I even gouged this out to try to get the plastic to flow better. You can see where I just hogged that out with a big mill. It comes in here, flows over the fender, comes back this side, and I can fill this side up, and then it'll start coming up and over. The A pillar is not big enough because it's not really going up there, but it shouldn't really be a problem. The problem is it's not flowing down this side. It stops about right there, and I can't fill this other side up. So the best answer that I have as to why this mold failed is that when I tried to get this and the other part of that to match up perfectly because of the round curvature of the fender, remember, it doesn't have this sharp edge here. In doing so, I burned too much, and this side is now too thin. Because when I mic'd the plastic that went down this side of the fender, and I mic'd the plastic that went down to here, this side is only like 10 thousandths, and you can't push 10 thousandths very far before it solidifies and it won't flow any further, especially not with the small machine that I have. My machine is overstretched to do this. I got a little 28-ton Arborg, and I mean, it's 50 years old, and it's just, this is really it's pushing its limit here. But so the plastic's flowing down this side, but this side's too thin because I have it too close. It's too tight. And the reason that I can't correct this is because I mill this centerpiece out of a solid block, and I use the ends. The block is like this long, and I use the ends to locate it so I can flip it, and then when I'm done, I just take the portaband and whack the ends off. Now that the ends are gone, I can't indicate. There's nothing to indicate on to this, so I can't go back in and take this side down 30 thousandths to save it. And so I'm going to have to think about this, but that's the best I can figure out for why this went wrong. We built a better system for the wedges with better springs, with linear bearings instead of bushings, and things like that. So I'm going to have to shelve this Plymouth. I'm not exactly sure what to do, but I do have one potential solution that I want to try. And I need to think about it, because one of the things that I learned is if I rush into things, I screw everything up. Yeah, this is beautiful. I mean, the window trim is fantastic. The trunk, all the seams are there. The A-pillar's there. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny little drip rail on the window. Look at that drip rail right there. That would have been great in the model, but it just didn't turn out. So what I'm thinking of doing is, instead of putting the parting line out here on the rounded edge of the fender, I'm going to try to move it, if possible, all the way into here where the hood goes closed, so that the fender will not have a seam on it. It'll just be roll over, and then it'll come to here. The other thing that's strange about this is the hood doesn't go off the end, so this is actually part of the car up here. And there's a small little circle in the actual car that I did not put in the mold. I don't know if I'm going to do it in there when I redo it, but yeah, see this is part of the body, and then this would be the cavity, and you can see where I'm pushing the plastic through here. Let me flip it over and you can see where the ball goes in. 3/4 inch ball mill goes in there. Sheets of plastic in here, and then it's got to go somewhere, and it's kind of like runny chocolate when it comes out of there, but it cools fast. It cools really, really fast, so you need to slam it to where it's got to go as fast as you can. And if it cools down along the way, say for example, it cools down up here at the door, it can't go past it, so it'll blow out somewhere else. It'll blow out somewhere else. So it's a little tricky. It's been frustrating. I've had set this thing up 4 or 5 times, and I probably wasted too much time trying to salvage this junk mold. And it's really it's been a little frustrating. But I wanted to try to wring every lesson I could out of this failure before I just tossed it and started again. Because if I didn't wring every lesson out of this failure, then I would probably repeat it again. So that's about it. That's why there's no Plymouth. This is Failure 101. And there's a couple I follow on YouTube, and they have some t-shirts that say make, fail, make, fail, make. And that's kind of what the process is. But yeah, this is a real cheap do-it-yourself pile of aluminum mold, and it didn't work. But we're not going to give up. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and have a great day.